ski review.
Hi everybody, it's Andy from Snow Camp Europe with
Wouter from Snow Sports Kaprun.
and today we are talking about why more and more people, why more and more Americans are traveling to Europe and specifically this area to ski versus going to the likes of Vail and Breckenridge and Aspen and all of them other American resorts. And before we start, don't bang your hand on the table today. So why do you think, Wouter? Why do you think so many Americans are traveling to the area of Zelensee Kaprun to ski rather than going to resorts, in some cases, that are on their doorsteps? Because some of the people we've spoken to actually are from Colorado. So they're within 2, 3, 4 hours of resorts. Why are they coming here on a plane?
Because it's cheaper.
Because it's cheaper. Okay, end of podcast.
Yeah. It is cheaper.
It is cheaper.
Lift pass is cheaper.
Okay, so you got an example of a lift pass price for me?
I don't know the exact price, but I know Vail, it's $200 something.
It's about $250 for a day versus around 55 euros. Now, I don't know what the exchange rate is, but Americans will be able to work that out. So it's significantly cheaper.
No, but here the lift pass is now 70 euros with a key card, 72 euros with a key card.
For a day? Okay, so a week's pass in Vail is between $900 and $1,000. Where here it's 402 euros, which is I think $350 maybe, something like that. So that's a pretty big saving.
You save half the price. Yeah.
The scary thing to me is the ski lessons, because a one-day ski lesson is about $1,000.
Private.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which a one-day private here is, depending where you go, $380 to let's say $450.
On average here in Austria, it's $400.
Yeah. Obviously, they can fly into Munich direct from most American airports. The transfer from Munich to here or most places is quite easy with the train. But what I find, a lot of them are hiring vans because they're coming as relatively big groups, 6, 8, 18. We had a group of last year, and they had 2 vans. So with their flights, even with their flights and hiring 2 vans, it's still cheaper for them to come here than to go to Vail. I think there's also an element of the culture, is there not? That there's a little bit more culture in Austria. There's more of an experience.
Well, I've been skiing in the US a couple of times, and it is of course like there's no atmosphere. I need to be really careful now, but there's less atmosphere. There is less atmosphere after skiing. So there's no après-ski really. Everyone goes back to their apartment or to the hotel, have some dinner, or go later to a nice restaurant. And, the bars are, there are some bars, but it's all starting later. It's not like, oh, there's some good music on the mountain, let's some nice vibes, and then, you go for après-ski, and that's missing. That's missing.
Where have you skied in America?
Lake Tahoe.
Okay.
In Heavenly, in Sierra, I've skied.
Okay. What I noticed when I was in America was, as you said, there's no straight off the slope après-ski, and if there is, it's into a bar to have a bucket of chicken wings and a beer before they drive home. But there's no kind of party. It's like maybe an end of day snack and a drink. That's it.
There's no really.
There's no high energy.
And there's party, but it's all a bit later, and it's not really. It's more going to a restaurant, and everyone is going. That's missing. And the problem is as well, of course, because the resort is owned by one company. So there is not. You don't have different huts. There's no competition from hut to hut. You don't have more of a tradition where. Like here's like a farmer he's seen, of course, I can make some money with tourism, so he's open a nice hut. It's getting more and more modern as well, these huts, and the music is getting better, and they're switching onto it, so there's more competition. Whereas in the US, the resort is owned by one company, so you have the restaurant is owned by the lift company.
And the lift company own the ski school and
it's got one purpose, is making money, and it's like catered towards, it's got no atmosphere with it.
So do you think Do you think that in America, that the reason there's no atmosphere is because it is so corporate versus,
There is
as we've just
atmosphere, but it's
said,
different. It's different. There is atmosphere, but it's different.
okay, but do you think the Americans are potentially coming here because of the cultural difference, the different food, the different ambiance, the different language, the different drinks?
I think so. I've spoken to the Americans. I've spoken to, and I had last week a private guest as well, American, or the week before, and he's, and they also want to go and see somewhere else, something else. It's not only like, oh, we're, different. This, it's the same for us. You also want to go somewhere and say, oh, I want to go outside my own country, maybe, and have a look, away from, in this case, Northern America. Let's go and do a ski holiday in Europe.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
that's one part of it. But I think as well, it's getting very, very expensive. But on top of it, and this is why there's more and more Americans, is because of the Icon Pass, the Epic Pass, the Lift Pass.
Hmm.
They include also resorts here in Europe.
Yeah,
And this is what's happening lately as well.
but then obviously we're not on the Epic or the Icon. I know there are
We are not, no,
we're
but
not,
there's
but there are other
the
places that
Kitzbühel
are.
is, St. Anton
Yeah.
is, yeah.
So there is that element of it. People who maybe are skiing in America, but they're also saying, "Well, I'll use my Epic Pass to do a European trip, and I'll go to the Three Valleys because I think part of that's something is it Teens or something maybe." But there'll be somewhere in
Absolutely.
France that's on it. There's somewhere in Italy that's on it. I think the Dolomites is on one of
Correct.
them. And then,
Correct.
as you've said, St. Anton or Kitzbühel. So there could also be that element that passes encouraging them to go and ski other resorts. But I also think that those passes, from what I understand, are also one of the reasons that the prices outside of that pass have gone up because they sell that pass in the pre-season to get as much revenue in as possible before you even know if it's going to snow or not. And then the people who are buying day tickets are buying these 250,000 euro a week tickets.
What? 250,000 euros?
250 a day or 1,000 a week. Yeah. So
Okay.
the people who are paying the daily and the weekly passes are almost subsidizing that cheaper pass. But that cheaper pass has to be bought at a certain time, so you commit all of your money and what resorts you are going to ski in before you even know if it's going to snow.
This is an assumption. I don't know that. I don't, that, yeah, I've heard this, maybe you as well. Yeah, maybe that's why. I don't know. Um, I think there's a bigger picture behind of it with the LiveCon, but that's for a different thing. But yeah, maybe I don't know.
Okay, I think the other thing that I've seen recently, and again, this is purely down to social media, is the lift queues. And I'm looking at Vale on some days are absolutely horrendous. So are people saying, well, we're not going to go there because we're going to just stand in a lift queue for the week? Let's go to Europe where there is more skiing. There's more, they would say acreage. We would call it like kilometers of piste, and less queues on a typical week. Obviously, we've just come out of a busy 3 week period where we had sizable queues on the glacier because of the conditions in the lower resorts. But overall, we don't really queue, do we?
Overall, not, no, but also because the lift system is much more modern here than in the US. The US, they have modern lifts, of course. And look, the thing is here is you have multiple lifts. Like, let's say, loads of the resorts, all of the bigger resorts in the US and in Canada, Northern America in general, they're a little bit older, the lift system, so they're like 80s, 90s,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But there's one lift that covers a
Several,
whole
yeah,
area, a whole bowl.
yeah,
As for we have 5 different lifts, which covers the same amount of acres,
yeah,
a
yeah,
whole
yeah.
bowl. And this is the difference. So you have, first of all, you have a little bit slower, lift. Okay, the
Mm-hmm.
lift is just going a little bit slower. It's got less capacity. It's
Yeah,
also the chairs. It's maybe 2 man or 4 man chairs. We have here a 10 man and 8 man and 6 man chairs.
yeah.
We've got big bubbles, and but that chairlift then, that 4 man chairlift, is then covering
A big area.
a big area,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and that this is why there's so big queues. And then on top of it, what you're saying is everyone is going to Vail, everyone is going to Whistler, everyone is going to Aspen, everyone is going, you know, to Boulder, to the bigger resorts. So
Mhm.
yeah, of course, it's the same here. Everyone wants to go to the bigger resorts because more kilometer is better, which is not true.
Yep.
Far from it. Yeah, the nicer resorts are this medium sized where it's not so. But anyway, it's good for off piste
Mhm.
and variable terrain. But this is what's happening, and then of course you get the weekends
Yep.
because you've got a season pass.
Yep.
You're working
So all
during
the
the day,
weekend
and
skiers.
everyone is going to you get a mess. So yeah, they need to update maybe a little bit uh, their lift system,
See, I was surprised, and now it was
especially for the prices they charge.
yes,
And here
yeah,
it's for sorry to interrupt here. Okay, the lift company is one thing, but the lift company is only the operating system of the lifts in the piste.
yeah,
It doesn't get the money of the rest. Well, here it does at the Alpine Center, but normal resorts, no, that restaurant belongs to that
farmer,
landowner.
yeah,
The farmers get some money. The landowners of the land get some percentage
yeah,
of every sold lift. So you must think like, hang on a minute, your lift pass you sell it for $250 a day pass.
yeah.
You must at some point update a little bit your lift system, shouldn't you?
You
Because
would
you
think
you
so.
you'll piss people off in a
Yeah,
way, and I think this is also the reason like Americans come over here a little bit
yeah.
as well.
And then going back to this area, as we've spoken about on previous podcasts, you look at Saalbach Hinterglemm, there is only one lift now that is from the 80s. Everything else is new. The Glacier, Langweed is the only oldish lift,
It's not old, it's 90s.
but oldish,
Yeah.
but as in not been replaced in the last 10 years. Pretty
Yeah.
much everything else is
30
new.
years, yeah.
The Maiskogel, everything is new. Okay, we've still got the chairlift up there, but it's a modern chairlift.
Yeah, but that
Covered.
chairlift is maybe 10 years old.
Yeah. Okay, so this area, and this is again going back to why you're paying, and people think 402 for the week in Kaprun is a lot.
It's
That's
not.
not a lot given the infrastructure you've got, and your free buses, and your parks,
No.
and your what's it called, your cross country loop, and your touring routes. There's a lot on that lift pass really
Yeah,
for,
people
for
don't.
402.
Unfortunately, skiing, and this is the. Unfortunately, it's got. It can be. I think skiing should be accessible for everyone, and unfortunately, the last couple of years, it's getting more and more expensive. I do understand why, a little bit, but it is. But people here. Sorry, this is what getting off track a bit. But people here. People say, "Oh, it's really expensive for day pass," and then I always say, "Well, hang on a minute, just go there and there." The same for
Yeah,
lessons. If you think about it, lessons are not expensive. They're not here. And you pay a 5 hour lesson, you pay €400. That's €80 an hour. You pay an instructor, which half of it goes away to tax.
yeah,
The same. It is not so expensive. It's the tax here that is expensive, of course, a little bit. The tax
mhm.
system, but it's not. You pay also €80 to your physio an hour.
Yeah.
So it's
I
not
think with the
expensive.
lift passes, if it's €70 a day, if you ski for 5 hours, then you're getting value out of it. If you
Correct.
only go up and do 3 hours and you're having a gin and tonic after every run, then yeah, it's expensive. Run for run, it's
Correct.
more expensive. But if you do 5 hours of skiing, or on a day where
Or
you
six.
you get the bus to Zell, you ski down, you go over to Saalbach, you ski all the way around
All
the
around.
loop,
Yeah.
and you come back. That's a full day from 9 till 4. You might have had a 30, 45 minute lunch, but you've used lift after lift after lift.
Yeah, and if you think about it, it's good value for money because you have here compared to when we go back to North America. Really, it's not only the U.S. It's North America.
Hmm.
There's much more frequency as well you can do because the lifts are running quicker.
Yeah.
It's less queuing and less. So yeah, I agree. It's good value still.
Okay, so main things then are the transfer from Munich is pretty seamless, especially if they're hiring a van and driving. Lift passes are way cheaper. Ski lessons are way cheaper. I don't know a figure for equipment hire, but I'm guessing the equipment hire is also going to be extortionate because again, the resort own the ski hire,
It's because
where we've got a
also
little bit more competition on ski hire.
equipment in the U.S. is more expensive than here in Europe.
Okay.
So yeah, there is. So also therefore the rental equipment is much higher.
Yeah.
Well, much, but it's at least 30%
Yeah.
more expensive.
What was the other thing we were talking about? Obviously, lift pass we've said, lessons we've said, equipment, food. and there was some examples of like lunch on the mountain. A burger and fries was $25 to $30, where here it was averaging out at about 15, 16 euros. Evening out dinner, 2 courses was $60, where here you could do it for 30.
Okay, we can discuss the food on the mountain. Yeah, the food on the mountain here, it is better than in the US, huh? Most of the times.
Mm-hmm.
But the food in resort in the US is pretty darn good.
Yeah, I went
Okay?
to some nice restaurants.
I wouldn't say
I went to some
it
nice
is pretty
restaurants in
darn
the
good.
resort.
So
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
pay
yeah.
for your food,
Yeah.
but you get really good food. Yeah.
Yeah, I stayed in Aspen and Snowmass, and the restaurants there were pretty good. And I stayed there at a time where, to be honest, I didn't think it was expensive. And the Americans were saying to me, like, how can you afford to come here? Now, this was in 2003, so we're talking 22 years ago. And they were like, how can you afford to come here? And I was like, well, and I'd booked a flight independent to everything else. So Heathrow to Denver. I actually got a flight all the way into Aspen. So we must have changed Denver, Colorado, then got a flight up to Aspen. I had 11 nights in a pretty nice boutique hotel. First week was bed and breakfast. Second week was just bed. But you could go in and get your breakfast for not a lot of money. And we ate out every night. And I didn't think anything was expensive then. Now, whether it was because of the exchange rate or it's just gone up so much in the last 22 years, I don't know, because I've never been back. I don't think Vail owned everything then.
The last time I went, it was in 2000.
I think this was pre-Icon Pass, the other pass, pre-Vail owning all half of the ski resorts in the world. It was before that, I think. Obviously, they still don't, and I don't think they will ever be able to buy Aspen because the family that own it, I don't think are going to sell out to a big corporation like that. It's probably one of the only more independent-y ski towns there is, I would guess.
No, there's loads. But yeah, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. You just hear about I think what is expensive is because again they have no competition. Yeah, with ski lessons.
It's a monopoly.
The ski school belongs to the lift company.
Yeah.
It's one company. So yeah, they can charge, So the ski school is expensive. The lift bus is expensive depending on where you're going. The bigger resorts, but it's because it's a monopoly. Yeah.
Surprising that they're allowed to have a monopoly.
It's nice. It's good.
I suppose back in the old days of Austria, there was only ever one ski school in each village.
Correct.
And they had a monopoly. And then the rules changed. And now look at it. There's like
5,400
in every single village. And there we go, folks. Just our thoughts on why so many Americans are coming over to Europe.
There's a conclusion. If you're American and you're watching this, just come over here and come and ski with us because you get value for your money. That was the conclusion. Okay?
That's the conclusion. Wouter's sell of his services.
Correct.
Here you go, folks. Just a few of the reasons we think that Americans are traveling over to Europe and specifically Zalamzi Kaprun. Value for money and to come and meet me in Wouter.
Correct.
Bye for now.
See ya.